Excuse me, performance me is much fun. Excuse, performance de greve, perdão. Performance, okay?
In our film we have three main characters. We have the fallen angel and the cormorant and the serpent, and it's important for a number of reasons to have one animator who will specialise in each of those characters. The animators are your lead actors in essence.
We get an animator who's the most suited to each character. So in the case of the fallen angel, we've got a guy who's fantastic at sense of human anatomy and things like knowledge of the scapula, even though it's got wings attached to it. That sense of how that travels through space, and the tension and things with weight. It's invaluable to have somebody who knows their onions.
My name is Carlos De Faria, and I'm working on this project basically looking after the fallen angel, and the process of animation is trying to understand the story, trying to see what they want to say, and add personality to the character. And then once I have an idea of how the character is going to move, if I found that I'm struggling with the anatomy, then I will look at myself in the mirror. I will sort of like act out whatever the action is to see how the body move, the muscles, the bones.
The shot where we see the hand of death beckoning to Satan, it's important to look at books like this. Everyone thinks they know what a hand looks like and how it's made up, but when you're trying to animate it believably, sometimes it's good to look at reference, where you can just look at your own finger.
And the little gap above his eye. This is the cormorant in a nest of bones. We really got quite attached to him quite early on. He's wonderfully sinister, an amazing contrast to the falling angel. He's almost exposed as pure evil. We start off with a silhouette of cormorant, then we add a bit of definition to just pick out the wings, just so you get a sense of what angle it's from and some sense of its physicality. And then the last stage would be for some white to get added on the top to just pick out the direction that the light might be coming on. So if he's going above some lava, for example, it would be picked out here.
My name is Hannah and I'm the cleanup artist. My job consists of taking the animation that the animators have done, and I clean the line if needed, and I add the colors, I add the shadows, I add the little details you see, the reflections of the fire on the snake.
This was the initial sketch that we did for the serpent. I think Alistair tried something out with the reflection of the forming earth is in this thing, which is one of my favourite bits.
So let's get to it.
It's been a long haul, but the end result will have been well worth it.
This is a work in progress. It's a very exciting experience, and I can't wait to see the conclusion of the film.
Just go, just moving. It's a Atlantis movie. Red Shark Rock. That's not right. Every taste of play, gotta do it. I'm amazing, but That's a touch of luck. The most stories Johnny didn't make it. A yellow dress. A yellow dress. She delayed her eyes with the smiles. Dark clouds, heavy headed bullet. The girls, Jackie, the yellow dress, said yes. She's
Some point, a very distinctively jazz flavoured track should pop into my brain, into the brain of a sort of a pure
David Gilmour
person like me. It's baffling to me too, but I'm really glad it did. It's really well, it is one of my very favourites on this album. The lyrical inspiration, well, that comes from a painting that we have by a friend of ours called Johnny D. Matthews.
Johnny G. Matthews is a painter who has
this
lots
is
of
now we're right
always
in
in his
the
work. And the painting that inspired the song is of a very beautiful girl in a jazz club in a sort of swirling yellow dress, and the jazz band are all around her. She's got her hand on the shoulder of one person, but her eye contact is with the sax player.
Music videos are something which I always have difficulty with. They're, in this day and age, they're a necessity. But the idea of getting out there and play acting myself in any sort of way is, I've earned the right at my age to not have to do that stuff anymore. No desire whatsoever to do that, and to just have, the other alternative which people tend to use is a live performance of it with the band playing it. That doesn't hold any great interest for me either. But animation seems to be one of the modern art forms that is interesting.
It was wonderful when we found Danny Madden and watched his previous film about a soldier. We just recognised immediately the person who could do a really great job with this.
Danny is brilliant. I loved his Afghan video. Brilliant animation. The little camera angle things that he's using that you can see are in his head, these close-ups and strange shots that you wouldn't normally do with a camera. But you can do anything with animation.
David Gilmour first saw a short that I made called Confusion Through Sand, and that has a lot of dimensionality in the animation. There are rotating camera angles, and some go above the characters and kind of whoosh around. It's very much a character of the short, and I think that helped attract them to the style of animation that I was working with. When I first met David and Polly, it was great because they invited me to their living room. And we sat on the couch and had tea. It was very low-key, very casual, and I just showed them the concept art that I'd come up with. It was all different colors and sort of some storyboards laid out what I was thinking of narratively, and they're very confident in their voice. And they know what the song is, they know what they want it to be, but at the same time they're very open to what I brought to it.
He just had so many ideas, and he'd taken that lyric and he'd added extra little bits of narrative himself, which is such a great sign. He was so engaged with it.
This is some initial concepts from when the idea kind of first came, and the track was first sent to me. A couple pages here are like references, like other people's styles, and kind of riff off of that. Sometimes it helps to get the creative energy going. And for me, then once you kind of get a basic idea of the character, a basic idea of what the feel of it is, sort of storyboards just naturally come right out from there. It starts to become, you start to piece this shot with that shot, and then you build the narrative from there. So
I was excited at how brilliant the book was, full of hundreds of ideas. He's a live wire, and he's so on top of it. He absolutely is. You just feel that he is seeing everything, and has got an idea for every second of what's going on, and it's all very clear to him.
So it started with this quick prompt of a girl in a place and a guy, and here's the song. So taking that and not wanting to be too literal with the lyrics, I sort of crafted a little narrative and some visual devices and motifs that can kind of unfold throughout.
Paris Blues.
At Paris Blues, which is a film from 1961 with Sidney Poitier and Paul Newman. And that just really had the feel of a lot of what we were going for, the idea of the atmosphere inside of the club, and sort of the rapping, the back and forth between the jazz musicians and that kind of lifestyle. And so that was not only for aesthetic reference, but also for mood reference.
Hi, and welcome to Brixton and to the making of Yellow Dress by David Gilmour. I'm Julia Doctor, and I'm the yellow girl, I guess.
Okay, so this is just going to be kind of glasses shaking, no talking in this one. Working on chairs. Alright, hold the work please. Are you rolling? Yep. I think we'll call this one Foley, glasses, and chairs. Typically I'm working with a very closed set, very small crew, and it's a lot more of like running and gunning and kind of doing things on the fly and running around with lights and kind of getting in there with the camera angle. So it was great to have this whole crew, people who are used to working on a larger scale, a little bit slower pace, and taking all those things into consideration and knowing that this is for reference. You know, this is not the final product. Next move involves Javier. We're going to do the triple spin, right? But we're going to cheat it out a little bit more this way so we have room for the camera here. Cool. Some of the setups would have been really elaborate to do with a jib and move around characters. But sometimes it makes more sense to just grab a little, handheld camera and just kind of move it around like this, just to get the idea, the energy of the movement. Because you don't need the exact framing. You don't need, like, for the animation purposes, we don't need everything to be that precise in that way. I think that the crew adapted to that really well. I think at the start it was a little like, oh, what's this guy who's kind of jumping all around and like doing this. But I think after the first, like towards the end of the first day and definitely through the second day, everyone was very receptive to it, and it made sense. It was like, oh, it was sort of like Johnny was our DP was kind of like, oh, well, you should probably just do this with the GoPro and just kind of fall in there. So I think they really like embraced it. The timing of this project was good because I was pretty mobile the last few years of my life. So to actually like settle in one place.
I love you.
There's so much like great animation talent in Southern California. To be here for a few months and to bring those people in and to work on this is kind of nice synchronicity. I'm very used to working alone in my bedroom, kind of just with a little light panel and a pencil. I never studied animation, I hadn't had proper instruction with that, so I kind of like, the way that I've learned has been just trying things out and some of my methods are, I don't know, I guess not traditional. So it's been an interesting process having people adapt to this makeshift fashion of animation.
Blue's beautiful.
I think they're into it, and I think that overall we're all learning from each other, and that's a huge benefit. There's a couple things that I say, and they'll kind of like look like, oh, you sure you did it that way? I don't know. But it's like, I think this will work. It's all theory for me anyway, until it's done and something. So it's great to sort of smash these different approaches of animation together, and then I think that'll just add to it having its own distinct look and feel. And that's the best case. Right now, all of the different stages of production are starting to fall into one another. We have a lot of the pencil animation done. We're stepping into the painting stage, the cleanup.
Beautiful.
Getting ready to do the final photography of everything. From there, we have the files all digitized, and then they go. They get composited in the computer and all placed together. All the elements hopefully will fit into one another. This whole thing has kind of opened up that process. It's going to take the next level from what I have been able to accomplish. So I'm excited about it. Yeah.
Movie, the address. David Gilmour and the address and Borris sits on voice, Leen August Guilmour.
Hey, what's the word, Doc? You're sleeping tonight. What's going on?
Man, I've seen that face before. You got a girl like that, whew, you better be careful now, brother.
Adore Cat. Adore Cat.
She lay her eyes with little smiles. Dark out and the girls and the yellow dress said she was as dark as flame. Well, I heard eyes closed and yellow dress. Words. It's a lady around the doors. The girl seems to never close. This girl is I had a picture. To where they play the blues. She died like a flame. Eyes closed, arms aglow. She sheds swirls and snakes. To the lady for the road, he sees that her heart is pounding full. Baby daddy falls down to his knees, plays her please, lifts his head and tears. Sets the place on fire. The flames up his spine as she shakes her
With me, words sort of come every once in a while, quite rarely. It's not, I'm not that fruitful in that department, and I was used to working with Roger for all those years. It was just living with a professional wordsmith.
Just happened to be there, come on.
And it's brilliant, and it has been brilliant, and it's getting better and better. You know, I inhabit her words better, I think, than I did with Rogers. I have more.
Is there a sense, I'm sure a lot of people would ask the obvious question, which is there a sense in which the fact that you are married, have a relationship, the question of empathy, does it make it easier or harder, the fact of that?
I couldn't say. I don't think it makes it easier, no.
No.
It's quite hard, but yeah, she's brilliant, so we get on with it.
Polly, is there a sense in which you've changed your role? At the beginning, I think you said to me privately that it was like ventriloquism. You were trying to think his thoughts, write his emotion into the language of song. Has that changed?
I think I've become more confident, and so now I'm less struggling to treat him as a fictional character whose skin I'm trying to get under to work out what this piece of music means in words. And I'm more able to sort of listen to it repeatedly and to sort of come to my own idea of what it might be about, but he's still got to sing it. So it has to chime. You know, it would be useless me writing something that...
The storyteller in you, though, which is, you've become well known as a storyteller, is a storytelling job for you in that way? I mean, I know there's the emotional connection, your children together, but is it still a piece of storytelling work for you?
It is. I mean, David becomes for me a bit like a character in a book. In order to be able to write the words that he'll sing, it's very similar to writing the words that someone might say in a situation in a novel or a short story. And I'm lucky because I'm around him all the time, so it's actually quite easy to sort of get under his skin.
Does it surprise you, the ideas that she comes up with and the language that she comes up with?
It does. I mean, I have had one or two moments in the past where other people, writers, have come to me or have shown me stuff that they have written, and it's quite common that people who use the word in writing, serious writing, think they have to play down when they get to pop music. And I have seen some truly cringeworthy examples of that. And
from very good writers.
From very good writers who I won't name. But Polly doesn't do that. I mean, it's a privilege for me to be able to put those things onto the music and sing them. We have some great moments in the studio when she has a draft and we go and sit there and I sing them.
Are you conscious, Polly, that sometimes you see that the lyrics are reflecting or informed by work that you're doing in your novels?
That's happened quite recently with a song on the new album, and with the novel I'd just written. I'd spent a year, bizarrely, probably putting off the evil day when I'd have to start writing, studying Paradise Lost, and David had a fantastic track, and it just really sort of spoke to me about the need to not just put up with the status quo, but to go and kind of cause trouble and not accept sort of mad rulings. And I was thinking about it, I really want to write that lyric. And then I kind of like, with so much, you find it in Paradise Lost. And book 2 of Paradise Lost is about Satan's heroic journey to go and challenge God about this
terrible situation that the fallen
I should just say to audience members who don't know, this also features in The Kindness, the fabulous latest novel by Polly. So it is actually an example
real
of you were thinking in two places at once.
Yeah, it's like, well, I mean, Paradise Lost could give you everything you ever wanted forevermore, probably. I mean, you will always find the solution somewhere in those books.
Just lost.
Do you want to play a bit of it, David?
Rattle That Look.
So Rattle That Look, I mean, you gave a good description before, David, about how that actually rose as a sound thing from the beginning, because of this.
This came initially from being in France and being on a train station, and they have a little sound that precedes the announcements that they make on the TGV system.
Avignon station.
And which every time I heard it, sets a little rhythm going. You know, I always really enjoyed it. So I was in Aix-en-Provence on the station, and I held
There's much fun, beautiful. Yeah, beautiful, adore it.
up to the speaker and waited for 5 minutes till there was an announcement, and recorded this sound, and then started making up a song with it, or a tune with it at that stage. It starts with the station announcement sound twice before going to an unusually up-tempo track for me. It's exclusive. Yeah, I'm a dancer.
Nobody's ever heard that track before. That's the meaning of exclusivity. How did you get from Milton to that? What did you hear the lyrics?
Really, it was really great. Once I mean, I was thinking that I knew what the song was about. It was about going, no, not putting up this, and about how much better you'd feel if you went and did that. And then I was just kind of walking along, thinking about it. But I was so kind of soaked in Milton at this point that I suddenly thought about Satan's Flight. And so I went and read it again and realised that I could construct the whole lyric around that.
Because you were interested, as it were, in the idea of rebellion and saying no and admiring the difference.
Yeah, and just the idea of just how heroic it is to just go and do that, you know.
What did you think when you saw that lyric? Did it fit exactly with the thing in your head?
We went into the studio and just...
It was very exciting.
It was an exciting moment, and seeing that, you know, just instantly fitted and obviously meant something. It means something a little bit more to us due to other events in our recent history with our boy Charlie and so on and so forth.
The rebellion, the standing up.
Well, about the rebelliousness and the acting of your own that way.
It doesn't have that resonance for you, Paul?
No.
That's surprising, because you felt so strongly about that.
Yeah, but I feel it's more general than that. I feel it's about all forms of just not putting up with it, you know, and just don't weaken.
You're going to have a fight on stage?
Yeah.
It's just, I mean, for me, it was just an extra fillip to add to it.
Yeah. One of the things that's happened over the time you've been writing lyrics, Polly, is that they've become more narrative based. Your interest, the storytelling part of you has become, I would say, more confident.
Yeah.
You know, The Girl in the Yellow Dress, for example. I mean, you were inspired by a painting.
Yeah. Well, that track had been around for a long time, and in fact, when David was making On an Island, that track existed, and I tried to write a lyric for it and failed. Mainly because I was writing about a man who played the saxophone that I had a massive crush on when I was 19, and I don't think David liked it very much. And so he just sort of said, no, I don't want that. And I really, really loved the track, and still loved the track when it came to writing for this new album. And I used to listen to it obsessively, because it's just it doesn't actually, it's a beautiful thing without lyrics, and sometimes that's quite inhibiting. And I was kind of determined to write something. And Phil Manzanera, who works as a producer with David and is also in Roxy Music and a great friend, had always said, it's about an incredible, sexy woman. And he was right. But I thought, well, I mean, obviously I can't write a song about myself. and so it kind of stalled for a while. I don't want David singing about some other gorgeous, sexy woman. I'm not going to write that. And then I was sort of sitting thinking, I really want to do this one. And then I looked up, and we've got a painting by someone called Johnny G. Matthews of, it's beautiful, it's of a girl dancing in a yellow dress, and she's got her hand on the shoulder of one person, but her eye contact is with, in fact, a saxophone player. And
there's a whole jazz band. In the picture. It's not just the saxophone.
No. He's very unattractive. And it just, I sort of suddenly thought, that's it. And because I no longer feel I just have to try and inhabit what it is that David's trying to say, I thought, I can just write that story. And it was a huge relief to realise that I can bring something of what I do with a short story into a song.
I recorded a backing track for that with a jazz trio in 2004, and again, it has just sort of achieved a point where it's on a record, it's on Paul has written. It's a great story. When I had Jules Holland in the studio playing piano on this track, and he kept sort of seemingly losing the plot. And he said, oh, I'm really sorry about this, but I just keep losing myself in this story. I just keep listening to the words and forgetting what I'm doing.
Yeah.
We got there in the end.
I mean, do you have a secret hankering or a wish that he would write a song for you?
Well, of course. I mean, and in fact, with the new album, so I partly didn't want to be the person who enables him to never write a lyric again, which it was beginning to get like that. And, you know, just have a piece of music and he'd give it to me, and I think, well, you haven't tried to write one. You know, why, you know, am I just some sort of slot machine? And so I wrote, after I'd written Rattle That Look, I then said, I'm not writing another one till you've written one. And it was months, and I was thinking, because this way I get a love song. I get a love song. If he writes a song, it's got to be about me, really. But in fact, he wrote one about his mother. And so then I wrote another one, and then I said, I'm not writing another one till you've done one, which is much harder work, because it really, really is, because you have to sort of lock him in a room and keep kind of bringing him a cup of tea, saying, how are you getting on? I've done 3 words, and, sorry.
No, I'm not sure. You better edit the 3 words.
Yes.
These ones that I write all on my own. It's slightly dishonest. I mean, there's an editing process, you could call it, that goes through it.
Yeah. I was just wondering if there's a very strong kind of lyrical theme running through the new album.
We tried to make it the evolution of a day, but it's a little tenuous at times.
Well, it has it has both the actual day and also the thoughts that one might have if you were having a day of out of your normal life. And I think it's more about the future. I think the Division Bell looked back, and I think On an Island was very much about mortality. But this looks forward, and it's a sort of carpe diem, sort of just grab it.
Have you ever been tempted, Polly, to write lyrics for the previous Pink Floyd songs?
For
the previous Pink Floyd songs? So to write lyrics...
What, for songs that we'd already have lyrics?
Yes.
Well, I think that I would like to rewrite Another Brick in the Wall with We Really Do Need Some Education. And everyone should have it, and it should be free.
Perfect. Polly, say so.
There's something we'll come back for questions after this track, but there's something so full-throated in every sense about the material from the new album, and I want to encourage you to give us a sense of In Any Tongue, because it seems that something lifts off the ground now. I mean, it's brilliant song after brilliant song, but this seems full of a kind of confidence, you might say. Can you talk us through that song, how it was built?
In Any Tongue was a piece of music that it's a strange thing, because you have these things and you're trying to find a key to finishing something, and there are moments and you think these moments are just great, but sometimes it refuses to reveal itself. We recently got it into a form where I refound another section that I had discarded before that made it all make sense again, and Holly has written brilliant words to it.
It's the most daunting writing because the song absolutely suggested what it had to be about, and I felt it was a very male subject, and I drove myself mad thinking I had to really get inside what it felt like to be a soldier, and so I read all those Afghanistan poetry. I read the Taliban poetry. I was sort of getting myself into a stew, really, thinking, you know, how am I going to do this? He really ought to get a man to write this song. And then one day, and it was about to not go on the album because I hadn't done the lyric. And then one day I was just sort of sitting there thinking, well, actually, I kind of don't need to read all this stuff. I kind of know what I think. And then I wrote it in maybe 5 minutes. But it was, after sort of months of beating myself up about it.
And it was just there.
And it was just there all the time, I think.
We've run out of time. It's been an utterly special event. There's special, then there's special. It's been a mash-up masterclass. Thanks for coming. It's been great to do it here in Borris. Put your hands together for David Gilmour.
Hey, give them money! Stay strong! God bless! They make it walk. Let's stretch it to
The album was largely recorded in a studio in Brighton. Parts of it recorded on my houseboat Astoria as well. It's been a long time since I started, several years.
David is bridge people, the madman people, bridge intelligent, aesthetics, the singing, composite. That's fabulous.
Great, okay, that's fine.
Oh, great song.
A Boat Lies Waiting. It's a piece of piano music that I wrote years and years ago, in fact. I recorded it on a little mini disc player, horrible sounding mini disc player, when Gabriel, who is playing on Any Time, who's now 18, when he was a few months old, because you can hear him squeaking, squawking as a baby on it. In the process of recording, you want to make something that is of high quality, but you shouldn't be too scared of putting one or two elements in it that aren't of high quality, because their quality can be lifted, and it's a mistake to lose that spontaneous moment. Polly wrote wonderful words that are sort of dedicated to Rick, really.
I did a religion, Samson religion, and David engagement, some beautiful.
Silence.
hermit-like way than I've ever sort of worked before, really. It's been mostly me beavering away on my own. More recently, we brought other people in. I had Stevie Stanislaw, the drummer from my last tour, in playing on several other tracks, and Andy Newmark's played some as well, and Guy has played some bass on a couple of tracks. I think John's played electric piano on a track, and we've had Misha Paris and Louise Marshall singing on a couple of tracks.
And do it any way you like. Oh, yeah!
Ah, yeah.
Yes, it is. Do anything.
Oh, yes, just
Great, man.
hello there.
They're singing your song.
Oh, good.
Oh, yeah, nice pictures of you.
Hi.
Really? Okay, so how much function?
Yeah, and stop on that.
Okay.
It's something I've always really liked, the idea of the backing singer. We have used it as Pink Floyd and myself, we have used backing singers going back to Dark Side of the Moon, where I deliberately plastered all over a lot of it. It's something that I always really enjoy. Put together from 2 or 3 pieces of music of mine that I had sort of ignored. But he's very good at finding them and saying, that's great, you should use it. And how about using it with that piece and that piece? And so he mocked that one up. It's a gift.
Got 2 good takes of the other stuff.
We should have doubles of everything up to there.
Okay.
Well, let's
We just play the it's the short and the long.
Got a flash!
Phil is terrific to work with.
Let's just solo those on.
He's like a mirror. I bounce stuff back off him all the time, and he's full of enthusiasm and help. And he has a very good overview of what we're doing all the time, and it's enormously helpful. With the current system of recording, someone who's not terribly good at actually playing keyboards, which I'm not, if you know what you want to achieve in your head, then it's much simpler these days to do it. So I've done most of the keyboards and things myself. Has been sort of trying to make its way to the top of the pile to be presented. sometimes you write things and you can't quite find the way to finish them off and make them have the perfect fit for what you're doing. And this is a slightly unusual jazz track. I recorded it originally. Come on. With I recorded it originally with a jazz trio here on this boat quite a number of years ago, and I recorded it again at Abbey Road with a different bunch of people. And Jules was one of the people who played it at Abbey Road, and Jules has come back and worked on it again for me more recently. He just, it's perfect for his style of playing.
I just really like the sound of it. You can imagine, you can see all the people playing in the track. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
Who's that playing now?
There's Chris Lawrence playing bass. It's got my old friend Rado Closer from Cambridge, who's in the very early version of Pink Floyd, on it on guitar as well.
David Gilmour, rock box.
You feel absolutely free, just do whatever you like, and it's sounding great. I'd just say, just think smokier as you get used to it, just do it. These things aren't planned in any way, they just present themselves, in this way that it feels pretentious to talk about, that tracks, bits of music just present themselves to you, or you feel like you've channeled them, but sometimes things just arrive and you don't know where or how they've come to you. And the way to go forward with this one was completely obvious. It was a jazz sort of track. Got brilliant words by Polly, who's managed in her usual way to hear in the music exactly what is being suggested and being able to verbalise it and then lyricise it. Robert Wyatt has played the cornet on The Girl in the Yellow Dress, and an American sax player called Colin Stetson has played beautiful saxophone in that. You just take the easiest path forward with the best people who you know and you feel comfortable with, and that you think will understand the quickest what you're trying to get at, basically.
Started today for the first time.
This lady has grown horns. Come on.
Yeah, it's great horns. That's brilliant. That and it's just you combine.
It is. It's completely different, completely different to anything on this album and anything I've ever done before, I guess. But it's one of the best tracks on the album. I've written 2 lyrics on this. Polly has written 5. I don't find it easy writing the lyrics. The 2 lyrics on this one that I have written, the basic ideas for those lyrics presented themselves to me fairly easily. I knew, again, they kind of suggested themselves, but luckily,
beautiful.
I live with and I'm married to a
David gives me the tracks, and I walk in Brighton for miles and miles and miles with them in the headphones, and start off by he'll scatter melody, and often it's quite interesting when you listen to the original scats. It's like words just trying to break through quite often, and it'll always start with a line. So in any tongue, he almost sings, "Come in, I'll stay up." It's sort of and it's sort of there, and so that was the first line that got written, and then I was sort of walking with it, thinking, well, who's saying to you?
It's just begun. Years long, more
David, it is an accident a lot of the time. You know, particularly before this album, before I got to I could write a thing called Third Parties, which was a fantastic revelation, was when I wrote Girl in the Yellow Dress. I actually don't have to write what's inside David, I could just write what David might be observing. Previously, in the same way I take a character on in a novel, it was like taking David on as a character and trying to kind of imagine what it is he might be trying to say or what it is he wants to sing about. And actually that's like a marriage really, isn't it? When you're married to someone with a musical brain, you're often trying to work out what it is he's really thinking. So I think it's a natural extension of a marriage.
Son, El Mateo? De El Mateo?
Gabriel, that song Gabriel was just about 18. He was playing piano on one song called Leen August Guilmour. And his playing is absolutely beautiful and sensitive, and I thought that he would do a good job for me on this track. My old black Stratocaster, that's the one I probably use the most. So I thought I'd ask him again. His sensitivity to my music, I think, is very, very strong. And he understands what I'm trying to do. And he wrote some beautiful pieces for the orchestral music, which we recorded a few weeks ago at Air Studios. It was a wonderful day. It's really exhilarating to sit in a big room with a 30-piece orchestra. Bits of music.
Harmonic.
Faces of Stone is really about my mother's declining years.